Run it back from the top here, man. All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Monday evening. Another KnicksFanTV Bleacher Report simulcast. Today's edition, we're going to go watch some film, man. Court Vision is back with our special guest, Bailey Lau, in the building, man. On today's show, we're going to take a look at this Brunson-Less offense, how the Knicks have been getting by without the floor general, without the captain, Jalen Brunson, and in particular, some guys who, came up a lot in the news this weekend. We're going to take a look at how we're going to get Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart more involved in this Brunson-Less offense, man. So lock in, let's have some fun. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Salute to everybody, man, wherever you guys are watching. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, X, and Bleacher Report. Let's get into it, man. All right, Bailey, how we feeling, man? How you doing, bro?
Good. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, man, definitely. Definitely. So, as we recap the week, Knicks go 2-1 on the week. Wins over Sacramento, wins over Portland, and a tough loss against Golden State. I mean, how do you kind of sum up the weekend when you looked at these games?
I thought it was interesting. I like that the Knicks are trying different things against different teams. I honestly wish that we still went to Mikal and to Hart a little bit more against Warriors.
Yes.
I totally get that we wanted to play through Cat, which is nice to see as well. But yeah, I still would have liked a little bit of that on-ball creation sprinkled in, which we'll go into here.
Agree with you wholeheartedly, man. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into the first set of film here that you want to talk through.
Yeah, definitely. So I just wanted to start with kind of level setting what a lot of teams are doing against the Knicks now, which it's not new, but they're putting their center on Hart. Here you see it's Valanciunas on Hart, and they'll play like a bigger wing or a bigger guard on Cat. Here you see it's Keegan Murray. Throughout the season, this has been like Tatum, Drew Holiday, J-Dub, Dylan Brooks, just some examples. And the reason this is difficult for the Knicks to attack is it takes away one of the Knicks' best plays, which is the Brunson Cat pick and roll, pick and pop, right? And the reason it takes that away is because when you have Keegan Murray here, who's a bigger wing, a bigger guard, you can just switch with whoever is guarding Brunson. So obviously in this Kings example, it's not like the scariest defensive duo, but when you have a more switchable team like the Celtics, this is now like Drew Holiday, Tatum, Brown, and Derek White, right? So just to level set that, I don't necessarily think the Knicks should move away from that play completely, but historically throughout the season, that's what the Knicks have done when they've seen this matchup, right? So that's one of the reasons this is hard for the Knicks to attack. The second reason this is hard for the Knicks to attack is the center in this defensive scheme is typically just in the paint, right? They're guarding Hart, who's a non-shooter, and because Hart's a non-shooter, they can kind of just sit in the paint and just pack the paint for whenever Brunson's attacking or whenever like OG, Mikal, Cat is driving to the rim, right? So you're going to kind of see it play out in this play. Cat's going to attack Keegan Murray. Valanciunas is just sitting there and it just makes the layup a little bit tougher, right? In the second half, the Kings actually went away from this scheme. So they went back to the more traditional defensive scheme, which is putting the center, putting Valanciunas on Cat, right? And the Knicks actually really like seeing this traditional scheme, mainly because it's hard to guard Cat as a center, right? Sure. So you can see Valanciunas is in the paint. It's just natural instinct to kind of be like a rim protector. So he's kind of sagging off in the paint. And then because he's there, he has to recover a further distance to get back to Cat, right? So you have two choices here as a center, right? Like hard closeout. Cat's a little quicker than most centers, can get past you. Or if you're stopping short, then Cat's a 7-foot shooter who will shoot over, right? So just want to set the stage there that the Knicks like seeing that formation.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the first.
What do you think? I mean, having not gone through like the post-game press conference or anything, or heard Doug Christie's point of view, what do you think would make him switch back to going with a traditional big on Cat, given the disadvantages there?
I think just trying different things. They were losing at that point, so trying to see if there's a better matchup that could work for them. Which is if you just want to see if different things work right throughout the course of the game.
Sure.
So I think that's why he went back to it. Also, and we'll touch on it here in the first quarter. So you can see we're now back in the first quarter, right? And you kind of see that same exact matchup with Valanciunas on Cat. And if you look at the top of your screen, you see DeRozan on Hart, right? This isn't the matchup that they want. The Kings right now want it to be matched up as Valanciunas on Hart, Keegan on Cat, and DeRozan on OG. But what had happened previous to this is the Kings actually just missed their last shot. And when the Kings miss and when the Knicks push the pace, this is just naturally how you're going to line up, right? You're going to line up with who the Knicks are defending because the Knicks pushed it in transition. So Cat obviously defends Valanciunas on the other end. And because the Knicks push the pace, Valanciunas can't get back onto Hart. And Valanciunas ends up on Cat, right? So there's just an example that we can actually dictate the matchups that we like simply by just pushing it a little bit more, right? So you see the play develop here. Again, Valanciunas sinks in the paint to help out. And now you're back at that exact matchup, right? A center closing out on Cat. And it's something the Knicks like to run. So that's just one way that the Knicks can get into these situations where we dictate the matchup that's happening. You see the same thing here. Push the pace a little bit. Valanciunas is on Cat. And then because Valanciunas is on Cat, you're also pulling the center away from the basket. You're pulling the rim protector away from the basket, which allows someone like OG, Mikal, Deuce, any of the wings to attack the basket with no rim protection, right? So the first thing I just want to touch on is kind of that concept of pushing the pace, especially when Brunson gets back. When we push the pace, we can kind of find ourselves in these advantageous situations and advantageous matchups. But typically when Brunson's on the court, we like to just grab the rebound and wait until Brunson comes to the ball, gets the ball, and then initiates the offense. So in this stretch where he has been out for a while, for a little bit, it's been nice to see anyone kind of grab the ball, grab the rebound, and kind of just push. And that's just one of the things I would like to see more of when Brunson returns. So I'll take a break there.
Yeah, I'm with you 1,000,000,000,000%. Every game I've been watching, especially without Brunson and, with this offense struggling to get points up, to me, it's always been to push the pace. They have to be able to push the pace a little bit faster. Yes, when he's out there and he's controlling the ball, he's impactful with his usage, but I think a lot of guys would benefit from them pushing the pace. Like you said here in this example, Karl-Anthony Towns, because he gets a more traditional matchup, but also by pushing the pace, especially in the beginning of the year, you would find that a lot of times OG Anunoby would catch a nice advantage in the cross matches where he can take advantage of the defender in the post. Or you could have play faster with Mikal in his pull-ups or attacking the basket, or even Josh Hart with his attacks as well. So I like when they push the pace a little bit. And like you said, I'd like to see that even when Jalen Brunson comes back.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm like super comfortable with that, right? Like if Deuce gets a rebound, if Mikal gets a rebound and just dribbles it ahead or passes it ahead to Hart, and Brunson doesn't have to come back to the ball, he can also just run. And maybe he gets an easier layup on the other side like that as well.
There you go, man. Okay, what are we looking at next?
Cool. So the next thing I want to touch on is Mikal specifically. And now let's just get into a situation where we are seeing this offensive scheme. It's a center on Hart. We're in a half-court offense. This is just what's going to happen. And the Knicks do a really good job of this when Brunson's on the court, which they just do by bringing Hart into the play, right? They run this a lot when the center's on Hart. And the advantage of that is to bring the center into the play, and basically you also make Hart a threat when he's the one setting the screen instead of he's just in the corner spacing and then the center doesn't have the guard anywhere. So the Knicks do a good job of this, but one thing I want to see more of when Brunson comes back is running this for Mikal. So while Brunson has been out, you've seen this play run for Mikal a lot, and the advantage of this being run for Mikal is you get a pick on a weaker defender. So again, this isn't the best example because Brunson's not on the court, right? But if you imagine playing like OKC, and you have Lou Dort on Brunson, you might have Shea on Mikal. And you can also attack Shea instead of trying to, one, get Shea onto Brunson, which just takes time to develop that happening. Or two, you're just going to go at Lou Dort, right? So it's just creating different avenues of attacking. And also now, as we've seen in the Spurs game against the Pelicans, I think, and Portland, like Mikal can go off. Mikal's a good offensive player that's capable of scoring in these opportunities, right? And specifically against this set with the center on Hart, this almost is the perfect play for Mikal because he loves that mid-range jumper, right? If you're in a deep drop against Mikal, that's almost like his sweet spot to get to that mid-range, and he has a length to shoot over the center. So you basically want to force the center to make a decision. If they switch, I'm also very comfortable with Mikal against the center. So like if they switch a center on Mikal, you don't have to always go back to Brunson and find an advantage that way. Just let Mikal create. in that sense. And you're seeing it much more during the stretch that Brunson is out. And this play, I think, is a perfect encapsulation of what it could look like when Brunson returns. If this looks familiar, you see this with Brunson a lot, right? They double Brunson off this Hart screen, and then Hart's the release valve where he becomes a short roller. And then you kind of have this advantage on the back end where it's 4 Knicks on 3 defenders, right? So this play works really well even when Brunson's on the court and they trap Brunson. But imagine Mikal creates this advantage, right? So Mikal created this advantage because all throughout the fourth in this game and throughout overtime, they were running this high pick and roll where Clingan was in drop.
Clingan was the target.
Yeah, he could not guard this, right? So Billups makes a decision to, okay, we're not doing that anymore. Let's bring Clingan to the level, right? And trap Mikal and get the ball in Mikal's hands. Now, imagine this is the same exact play, but Brunson's on the court now. Mikal generated that advantage. The person who's going to play against a 4-on-3 advantage is Brunson, one of the best offensive players in the NBA. You're releasing pressure from Brunson to have to create an advantage every time on his own. And B, you're putting Brunson in easier situations where he can score and he can attack a 4-on-3 matchup, which I will take every day of the week, right? So you're going to see this play develop where it's exactly that. Hart's a short roller and McBride gets a wide open shot. But look how much space it is. Look how easy that is. And imagine Brunson gets to play with that space, right?
Yeah.
And again, last example of Mikal, this is just bad defense. Like, there's 3 seconds left. Clingan should not be anywhere off Mikal here. Yeah. But this just builds confidence, right? You want Mikal to have that confidence to create his own shot. You want him to have that confidence to sometimes when Brunson gets trapped and the ball goes to Mikal, you don't need to wait for it to go back to Brunson, right? You can call your number. You can be like, okay, right now it's random offense. I want to screen. Like, come to the screen for me, and then I'll run this pick and roll. And I think that's one thing that with Brunson out, as you're seeing Mikal get these plays more and more, I would love to see those plays incorporated when Brunson is back as well.
Yeah, there you go, man. So, like, a couple things that we're seeing here in these clips, ways to get Mikal Bridges going, get him in a rhythm, especially when you're playing against teams in drops. And when I think about potential playoff matchups, maybe it's the Bucks with Brook Lopez. I'm not sure how J.B. Bickerstaff plays with Jalen Duren. He's a bit more versatile, whether they play in the drops or he's more at the level. But Detroit could be a potential option there. And then secondly, how to utilize Josh Hart so that he's not completely neutralized when they get into half-court sets. So if they're not able to pick up the pace and play a little bit faster, you don't want to just have Josh Hart standing in the corner, especially if he doesn't have that confidence to take the three-point shot, and now you just have a center just camping out waiting for Brunson or waiting for Towns to make their move in the paint. It compounds the issue. And so using Hart as an off-ball screener where, hey, he can set the guy free, or, like you said, in the case where they're putting 2 on the ball, you can get him in the short roll where he might have a 4-on-3 advantage. And we've seen in the past, especially last year, he can make those reads. I know he's come up a lot, especially with some of the issues, the travel against Portland and some bad turnovers, but you see other times when Josh Hart makes good reads, and his assist numbers show for it.
Yeah, generally, I think he's a good playmaker. I know he makes boneheaded decisions sometimes, but in the course of an offense where he's the primary on-ball creator, or just being the connective piece where he gets the ball and he has to find something to do next, I think he's good in that role, and he should be utilized in that role a little bit more, which, incidentally, is exactly what we're about to touch on next.
Let's go.
So here, this is the same formation, right? You have Trey Lyles, the center. He's guarding Hart. And the first thing I just want you to notice is how fast this decision is, right? He gets the pass and immediately turns his head, and he's going to flow right into this dribble handoff with Mikal. And this is something the Heat have done forever with Bam, right? When centers are playing off Bam, they just have Bam flow right into action where you have Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero coming off for an open look. So the quickness of this action where Hart goes to set this dribble handoff is what creates this advantage for Mikal. So watch this develop.
Yep.
And then Trey Lyles, now he can't be stationary, right? There's just so much movement that's happening right now. He has to move with Hart, and that small shift with Hart creates this advantage for Mikal to drive, good aggressiveness, good initiating contact, and then that movement is just what I want to see Hart do more of. Instead of sometimes he's stationary when he gets the pass looking for something, right? The offense just simplifies itself around when Hart gets the ball, just flow into something immediately. Like very fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna show the rest of this clip where he runs this dribble handoff. And this is just something I want to see a lot more with, specifically with Shaman and Deuce, mainly because these are the two players that shoot fast. Mm-hmm. I think Mikal can do it too, but I don't think he likes to take these shots like off this off screen. I think he's capable of it, but we haven't seen it throughout the season. So regardless of whether or not you want to run this for Mikal, OG has a little bit too slow of a release for these type of shots. But I think for Shaman and Deuce, right, this is how you can shoot a team out of this defensive scheme. This is an open three for Shaman every single time, as long as Hart sets the screen well. On this play, he doesn't. There's an offensive foul. But if he sets a good screen there, this is almost always an open three. So I'm going to show that exact thing with Deuce. Here you see Draymond's playing off Hart. Deuce is just going to come off this off screen. Hart doesn't even set the screen at all. But imagine he sets the screen well. Again, there's another open three. Right? So this is how you punish teams who are going to play off Hart, by just giving shooters who come off that screen an open look. And the last one is for Cat, right? Same exact situation. Here's your dribble handoff. And then with this scheme, you have a center on Hart, right? So you always have a smaller defender on Cat. If this smaller defender wants to go under the screen, this is one of the best 7 foot. This probably is the best 7 foot shooting big man ever.
Sure.
So if you want to go under the screen, Cat can shoot it. If you want to go over the screen, we're back to that situation where Cat gets to attack a center on the move, where he's typically a little quicker than most centers are able to guard him, right? So here Batum goes under, and then you'll just see Cat shoot over the top of Batum. Right? So those plays for Shaman, for Deuce, for Batum, for Cat, I think are really good. And if you hit them consistently, and even just taking them consistently, you can kind of force the defending team's hand to adjust, right? Are they going to keep on playing drop against Hart then? If you're getting these open looks, maybe not. Maybe they are, and then you have to choose a different avenue of attacking defenses, right?
Yeah. So there we see a couple of examples to keep Josh effective, especially in the half court, and also to get the Knicks much-needed three-point attempts. They've got to figure out how to keep that pace up, man, and get their three-point shots up. Heavy Deuce. I think Shamet is a guy who I would like to see creep into this playoff rotation if Tibbs is going to extend it to 8. Because if he goes 7, it's going to be Deuce and Mitch. But if he goes 8, I would even, utilize Shamet. And look, to a lesser extent, a guy like a Precious should even be running sets in this way, because he's another guy that teams are just scheming out of the offensive sets. So, you got to figure Precious is going to continue to play for the rest of these 16 games, a couple minutes here and there, depending on how Tibbs want to utilize him. So I think that's how Precious can stay involved in the offense and keep in his rhythm, because he's been kind of in a funk as of late.
Another perfect segue. So I don't know exactly. I personally don't really love the non-shooting lineups with both Hart, Precious, Mitch. However, combo is one of those three. But regardless, they are going to happen. And I think it's actually really interesting that they can happen, and the spacing can be fine, honestly, as long as Hart's the on-ball primary creator. So if you look at this set right here, Hart's the ball handler, Mitch is the one that's going to set the screen, 2 non-shooters, but you surround the action with 3 shooters, right? So you see OG, you see Shaman, you see Campaign. So as this play develops, you're going to see that Keon Ellis has to decide whether or not he wants to help, but he's going to ultimately stay attached to Campaign, right? Because Campaign's a shooter. So even though you have 2 non-shooters on the court, there's a lot of space in the paint, right? And Valanciunas and drop. So you're going to see Hart just navigate the screen and then get to this mid-range pull-up shot. Now, regardless of whether or not you think this is a good shot, I think it's a good shot. He's open. He hits this at around like 75th to 80th percentile among swings in mid-range accuracy. But also, again, these are lineups that are not supposed to be good offensive lineups.
Yeah.
Right? These are lineups that you're making a choice to run these lineups for either size, for defense, whatever it may be. You're not running these lineups for like a ceiling offensive outcome, right? If these are not great offensive lineups, this is a phenomenal shot with that context in mind, right? So, like, I think just having Hart on ball, having him be the primary ball handler, we talked about his assists going up. His decision-making, I think, is good, even though sometimes he just makes really bad decisions, like big decisions. But in terms of, like, making a read out of a pick and roll set, he's been pretty good all season, right? So,
yeah,
just going to show him as a pick and roll one more time. This is why it's pretty effective, because when you have Mitch as the roller, you have to take into account that Mitch is a lob threat. which is what manipulates Malik Monk here as a low man to stay in the paint and kind of just be wary that Mitch could be rolling here, right? Because Malik Monk is staying there, you now have 3 shooters on this side, on the strong side of the court, right? So you have OG, Payne, Shaq. So Malik Monk is just a step late because he has to account for Mitch. Now you have 3 shooters and 2 defenders to account for them. Campaign sets a great screen, and Shamit gets an open look, right? So this is all set up because you have 2 non-shooters on the court, but you put both of them in the action, which can set up a lot of space for everyone else, including Hart, including Mitch, and then for the shooters as well. And this play, I think, is a really good example of what I want to see happen when Brunson comes back. So a lot of times Brunson runs this pick and roll, right? With Brunson out, you're seeing Hart run this pick and roll. You have the 3 shooters on your weak side right now on the lower half of your screen. Hart's going to reject the screen first, so nothing happens from it. He gets blocked. It goes to Deuce, right? Right now, typically, when Brunson's running this play, a lot of times the offense will flow back to Brunson. In this set, you see that the offense flows immediately into a pick and roll for Deuce. That, like, no play is being called here. This is just in the flow of what are we going to run after that initial pick and roll isn't working.
Yeah.
And everyone's on the same page that we're just going to flow right into this pick and roll, right? So Deuce flows right in this pick and roll. You're going to see Mitch flip the screen. Nothing happens from this as well. Great defense by the Warriors. Again, in this situation, typically with Brunson, the ball finds its way back to Brunson. Here, in this case, this flows right into the dribble handoff with Mikal. So you had 3 players with avenues of attacking. You force basically every single Warriors to rotate and actually play defense. And I think that's just what I really am looking forward to when Brunson comes back, is how you're kind of incorporating these pieces that are developing when he's out. So this one more really cool play. There's a ghost screen by Mikal. All that means is he's not actually going to set the screen. He's going to release from the screen early without actually setting it. And this is really effective when teams are switching, right? Because you're kind of causing this confusion of like, oh, if the screen is set, the switching team's defensive philosophy is to switch the screen. But if it's not really set, then you're expecting the player to follow. That split-second confusion works really well against switching teams, right? So here, Warriors are a switching team. You see that Mikal slips this, which causes that slight delay with Gary Payton, right? So he's trailing a little bit. Immediately into a step-up screen by Cat, which forces Payton to trail a little bit more. And then that flows into this give and go.
Yeah,
where
that was
Mikal
a beautiful play. Beautiful play. I remember that. Yep.
And this all happens because everyone feels like comfortable just attacking, creating an advantage, just flowing into the next action. And that doesn't happen as much when Brunson's on the court. And just to be very clear, Brunson ISO ball, Brunson hero ball, whatever you want to call that brand of basketball, is extremely effective. There's like no way around. Like his isolation point per possession, his pick and roll ball handling point per possession, like they're all really efficient plays. But the thing is, there's no diversity in the offensive attack you're showing defenses. So even though that play is really, really strong, if Brunson is the person that's creating the advantage for your team 90% of the time, in the playoffs when the game slows down, teams are just going to game plan against that, right? So nothing really needs to change. But if you pare back that 90% for Brunson and it becomes like Brunson generates an advantage 60% of the time, and the other 40% gets spread out between Mikal, between Hart, between Cat, between OG, then you're starting to show different looks to defense. And if during that 40% where Mikal's generating offense or Hart's generating offense, where it's super, super successful, then a defensive team has to adjust to that, which opens up the entire court for Brunson, where Brunson can now attack advantages. And one more time, like he's one of the greatest offensive players in the NBA right now, right? So he gets to play an advantage basketball, which is just going to be easier for him. It makes multiple defenders defend. And it's just a more varied offensive attack that the Knicks can give.
Yeah, great stuff there, man. And as you said, like, this is why this time, while they wait for him to come back, is crucial. Because they get more chemistry, you get more variance in your offensive sets, more guys getting comfortable playmaking for each other, getting Mikal Bridges, who to me is going to be, he swings things in the positive direction in terms of the Knicks accomplishing their goals, and we're seeing that. You know, we always see where, like when Brunson, Hart, or Towns are out, Bridges kind of gets a bit more assertive.
Yep.
His role gets a bit more aggressive in terms of the offense. But I think most importantly that you showed there is a guy like a Hart. How do you utilize Hart to be the most effective when his shooting confidence is down and when opposing defense are just not respecting his shot? So using him off ball in screening situations, using him on ball as a potential playmaker, setting those screens so that he can get downhill and maybe, he's popping into a mid-range and that gets him going, or he's continuing to make plays for others. I think these are very impactful plays here that the Knicks are running. And for a team who, let people tell it they don't run plays, we're seeing some plays here, man. We're seeing some plays. That's all I'm saying here, man.
Yeah, it's been really good to see during this stretch, and also being able to have stuff where you can get Hart, you can get Mikal to find rhythm versus, hey, find your rhythm, and if you find your rhythm, then we're gonna run more plays for you. I think that switch is also really important to get them going early, which we're starting to see during this period.
Yeah. For sure, man. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys, man. CP the franchise, Bailey Lau in the building. Breaking down film, man. Court Vision. Salute to all of our franchise channel members. Lawrence Smith, I see you. Father Peace, the Rhyme Animal, Chuck D. Who else we got in here? Christopher Blake, I see you. Zach checking in from the West Coast. Fabian Aramaris. Salute to you. Will Latimer, salute, man. Flow 174. I see you guys, man. Wow. Good stuff, man. Did we have any more? That was did we reach the end there?
That was it.
Bro,
Yep.
Yo, great job, man. Let the people know where they can find you. I got to get ready to head to the Garden right now for Knicks versus Heat. Let the people know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, just on X, I'm at BaileyLau1. And yeah.
Yeah, man. And hey, if you guys have any requests for Bailey, send him a DM, add him on Twitter, or you can email us, leave a comment in the comment section. And we'll break it down, man. Another great edition of KFTV Court Vision. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Let me salute some of our sponsors for today here. Let me just pull this up. Great job, man. And salute to the captain as we await his return. But for you guys at home, man, hey, Knicks taking on the Heat at the Garden. Knick tickets are a pretty penny. We're not going to stunt on that. So we can give you guys a little bit of help, man. Use our code KFTV10 at SeatGeek, the #1 rated ticketing app and the official ticketing app of KnicksFanTV for 10% off your order, up to $20 off. So salute to our sponsors at SeatGeek for sponsoring today's show. And make sure you guys use the code, man, KFTV10. All right, Bailey, man, good stuff, man. We'll catch up. Excellent job, bro. Appreciate it, man.
Cool.
All right, ladies
Have fun
and
on the
gentlemen.
game, man.
Salute to the replay gang. Like, share, and subscribe. Bleacher Report will see you guys on Wednesday. For those of you guys on the YouTube side, play-by-play live with CK2K is coming up next within the hour. And then post-game live, Alex and JD will kick it off. And I'll pop in after once I get back from the Garden, man. So everybody stay up. Keep it locked to the #1 show for the fans by the fans. We out of here. Peace.